Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 19, Employee Engagement. I have my good friend Lindsey Hack here from Spherian Nature Coast. Very excited for her to be here. Now, I asked Lindsey to be my guest when I saw something amazingly profound that she posted on social media that she's going to talk about today, which essentially talks about the importance of workplace culture and what happens when good employees don't get the recognition they deserve and poopy employees don't really get in trouble like they should. And then I just want to point out that Lindsey is the hiring extraordinaire in our community. So she essentially helps people find jobs and helps companies find qualified candidates if you're curious. And with that, take it away, Lindsey. Talk a little bit about this employee engagement brilliance that you have.
Thank you. Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited. So, also nervous. I hate video, by the way, just for the record. So, but no big deal, right? So, no, yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting that you did pick a very important topic these days as far as that social media post. It was just a quote that we posted about if your work culture doesn't clearly separate treatment and reward between good and bad employees, you may have a hard time finding and keeping good employees. So something that we truly live by as far as how Spherion operates and functions day to day, really. So, and by that, I mean culture. We find quality candidates, but we really focus on the employer culture, and not to talk about us, just in general, like, for me too, I truly believe in that to really find good employees, you need to have a great company culture and have that defined. So, and once you have that defined, being able to see those good and bad seeds, and it's sometimes it's not even really bad seeds. It's just they don't align with that culture. And, once you define your culture, you can really define those lines and be able to, promote them outside of the company is how I like to say it.
So let's talk a little bit about that then. Let's talk a little bit about how do you, because, there's a lot of small business owners that watch and, even people may only have one or two people and some
Sure.
have 15 or 20. How do you define that culture? And then what are some ways that you can implement it to where it's fair and consistent, but you're getting that positivity in your employee engagement?
Yeah. So, I mean, generally speaking, positive company culture is defined as just affording employee respect while expecting quality work, right, every day. So, our our research shows, because Spherion does an emerging workforce study for the last 22 years, has been researching, and this is one of the top things, and that 19% of employees feel their company doesn't even put an effort into the culture, and to help retain them, in other words. So what can you do? Well, first off, you've got to define your culture, and an organization is a team, right? They're a team. So, and a team is built up of more than one individual. So whether it's you and a partner, you have multiple employees, doesn't matter if you have one or two or, hundreds or even thousands, and then once you have more than one person, you're a team, and you need to be able to have trust in one another, right? To be able to work cohesively and to grow. So backing up just a smidge, right? Once you have more than one person, your organization needs to define the culture of that team now, and then be able to grow from that. And stop me if I don't make sense, but
And I didn't before, when I come on, my brain is myopically thinking people with employees. But you just said some statements that made me realize that this is very applicable to solopreneurs, because we often have maybe business partners or providers or even vendors. So setting the culture kind of means setting the expectation of how I expect I'll be treated and you'll be treated. Is that right?
yes, that's definitely a part of it. When you get into defining your culture, you want to involve all your key players. Obviously, the larger you are, the harder you want to start somewhere. So you start with your key players. So again, more than one person. If it's just you and your team, your partner, you sit down and define what that looks like. So your brand, right? So you have to define your brand, and a part of your brand isn't just what your logo looks like or what colors you are, right? Your brand is your mission. It's the values and the mission and your beliefs within why you are the company you are, the organization that you are. So yes, may have been created by one person, but now you have an organization, you have a partner, you have a team. So define that culture amongst your team. And the larger the team, then you sit down with your key players that truly represent what your culture is, and then together you send out like a survey or something to all of the employees to get their input, because your culture is everybody, including on the team in the organization. So including all of their, and having everybody's input also creates a trust and a level of safety, knowing that their input matters. How many times have you been asked for your opinion, right, Crystal? And whether or not they ran with your suggestion or ran with your opinion or believed in it themselves didn't matter, but how did it make you feel, just the fact that they wanted your opinion?
And I was actually going to bring that up, thinking about it, before hanging my own shingles, I rarely had any jobs that ever asked me what the hell I thought. It was always an employee review, which is what we think of you. And it was never, what do you think of us? Or what do you think of the people we've brought in? And I do remember the last job I had before I came to start my business. We kind of did this experiment when we started bringing people on board, and we said, I interviewed them and said, what do you think of the leadership, two owners of the company? And it was such a dynamic experience to see what they had to say. And it, because when the owners asked me, I was like, wow, actually, if I can speak honestly and candidly, I think we all have things to improve on. So I think that's awesome that you bring that up.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of your culture, right? Again, it's not just your logo. Like, great, you have a great logo. What does that mean?
Wow.
At the end of the day, right?
This is branching out into more than I really thought it would. It has a lot to do, like you said, with your brand. So your culture is more than just the way you engage your employees. It's the way you engage your clients. It's the way you engage your vendors, your providers, your partners, people that you network with. So this is all kind of essentially the same spider's web. Ugh.
Yeah.
So
it really is.
So then what happens if you do get what do you do, right? If you're in a position and you see that one person is making more effort, achieving more results, and another person is maybe kind of slacking or has an attitude, how do you tactfully handle those things so that the culture doesn't become toxic and so your good people don't leave?
So first you have to define your culture. That's what I was kind of saying, and then including everybody so that everybody has that buy-in at some degree, right? And then you're setting those expectations as well with those results, right? So you're setting the expectations amongst everybody, and then to also include them. Not only are you setting the expectations, you're also including them to ask. You have to ask for their commitment. So once you've defined it and you rolled it out, and it can be rolled out as one thing, right, or as a piece, right, phases, typical. You have to ask for everybody to buy in and to believe in that, right? So I can't tell. I don't know what the research numbers are, and I'm usually big on numbers. But our study, which I can provide you with the link to, but our study shows that good employees stay when they believe in their company and who they are, what they represent, and typically what they do for their community as well. So, which all ties into their culture, not just their skills and how good of a job they do on the job, but they don't want to know that just their skills are they're just being used for their skills. They want to know that they matter. So the organization matters. Does that make sense?
It does, and it's drawing me to everything is becoming more authentic, more genuine. Younger generations are looking behind the logo and behind the brands at what it's for, and things like that. So this is so much good stuff.
It's actually not just the younger generation. I just want to throw that out there.
But some people,
they are definitely the driving force behind it all. But it's
authenticity. So be honest about what you stand for. Be honest about your principles. And if employees don't agree with those principles, right? Some people got mad when Nike supported Colin Kaepernick, and those people left. Give those people that option, right? You're saying be honest with them, give them that. I'll use you guys as an example. I won't get too detailed because you and Terry like to be pretty low key about your good deeds, but you guys do a lot of things for the community. You help people a lot. You give a lot of time. You give a lot of effort. You donate. You do things not for the recognition, but for the greater good. And the people on your team are very much behind that, and their attitudes in the community reflect that. And their work, like to go into their office and everybody's so freaking happy. That's why is because
I love it.
to this culture that we're nice and we're friendly, and you know we can we can go to this event and have fun and have a martini and help people in the community, and we can be honest and we can bring ideas forward. So that's
Right.
what I'm saying people should be doing more and should be encouraging.
Right. So, and if you think about it, and I'm sure you worked for a company even when you were younger, starting out in your working. Um, I'm sure there's been a company, restaurants or fast food or any industry really, where you've gone in and you weren't recognized. You were just I hear it all the time. I'm just a number. Like they don't hear me. They don't want anything. They don't ask for my opinion. They don't ask for help. Nothing. Right. And how that can just talking about it kind of like makes me feel defeated and like, who am I? Like, and it happens all the time. So, and then you walk into a company where I walked into a company once. I was surveying a company for some business, and I walk in, and he tells me that they conducted a survey amongst all their companies. They create widgets, and they just work with their hands all day. It's not they can have things in their ears, but they can't be too distracted for safety reasons too. So they discovered through and then toilet paper. They had one ply toilet paper in there. Discovered through discovered through a company survey, an anonymous survey that they sent out to all the employees that, because people were leaving, they had turnover, people were leaving, and they started saying, we asked them if what the people leaving were saying, why were they leaving? Were they even asking why they were leaving? And they're like, no. So exit interviews, like conduct an exit interview and find out why. And then they found out some common reasons were just how they felt in the seat as an employee. They felt like a number, they felt like they didn't matter. And, these things were happening. They could see it around them. People were talking about it, and they were actually telling them this information, but they were on their way out the door. So then they conducted a survey with those that they were left to say, what could we do to improve for you to stay longer, for you to be a better, for productivity to go up, and just different questions that they could ask. And you'd be surprised. People said if we could listen to our own music, one ear, they even gave the suggestion if I could just plug one ear because of safety, or 2-ply paper, can we please get 2-ply paper? I can't tell you that, right? And then another thing too was, they then said, okay, well, what about our chairs? People were complaining about their chairs, things like that. So now they have 2-ply paper. They have the toilet paper. Now they offer an opportunity for their employees. They have a selection of chairs that are all in the same price range. So they give them an option to sit in a chair and figure out which one they want. Some want to be able to stand or sit high, taller or lower, or back support, no back support. They give them these options now, and their turnover completely reduced because they had the buy-in of their employees. And how simple was it to just add an extra roll of, extra sheet of paper to their toilet paper, or allow them to plug one ear with their own music instead of having to listen to what one person decided to listen to. Things like that. That goes back to your culture and who you are and how you represent. And that goes back to recognizing your employees and engaging them, and really rewarding them too in a fashion, allowing them, as long as your productivity and they put in standards, as long as you're meeting your productivity, you can have these things. We can afford these things, things like that. So it's a win-win. I'll give you these because your production goes up, and I'm gonna, win too. So,
and I see, some companies will say we have vitamin infused water in a gym or something like that. So, if you can afford all those things, great. But the suggestions that Lindsey's making here weren't that expensive. So find out what your employees want before you think you have to spend a lot of money on something particular. So I know you're a numbers person. You may not have the answer to it right now because I kind of dropped a lot of this stuff on you, but do you have any data or anything to talk about that substantiates the reduction of churn or the increase in productivity, or like what just examples of results of what happens when you set this essentially non-toxic culture and
Right.
abide by it and you give the employees what they want? Do you have any kind of numbers that can
I do typically, but no, not today. I should have.
since I
No, but
focus on you, if you can get some of those to me, we can
yeah,
make sure I'll put those in the pinned comments because I do want people to see. So we'll
yeah.
make it, you guys some information in the pinned comment below so that you can kind of get a real sense of the productivity improvements and the churn reduction and things like that that
I
go on.
mean, just thinking about it too, if you when you're recognized, right? Like, hey, it doesn't matter what kind of recognition you're getting from somebody. If your manager walks by you or a colleague walks past you and just says, hey, I love those shoes today, or hey, your hair looks great today, or hey, great job on that project yesterday, on what you reported. Like, do you feel any kind of sense of anything? Like, how do you feel about that kind of stuff? You're being recognized, right?
Sure.
So it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm gonna buy this for you and implement it, right? You don't even have to spend money on it. I mean, think about the radio. They wanted to be able to provide their own device to be able to listen to music. And if they were caught not being productive and abusing that, it got taken away from them. So there was consequences in place, but it was a reward too.
Yeah.
So
About it.
so if you think about those things, anything can go, something can go a long way. Employee of the month, right? Employee of the week, or a parking spot out front that is already there. You don't have to pay for it, but it's that going to be dedicated to that person for the week or for the month or third shift, or it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. Um, just having that, your employees feel more appreciated and they feel better, right? I can't tell you. I've got a client actually who their warehouse, and they're one of the lowest paying warehouses around. They are not very competitive, unfortunately. And it's the nature of their business that they just really can't afford to be as competitive as some of the warehouses around them. So, recruiting for them can be extremely tough when it comes to pay. But when we talk about the culture of this company and we talk about the employees who have left on their own accord for better paying opportunities for that grass is greener job, how many of those people come back because of the culture, because they cared about the employee, because they asked their opinion, and they worked hard. It's a non-culture controlled, like there's no AC in the warehouse. It's hot out there. Like they're working hard, long days on their feet, and they came back to $1 less an hour, right? $9 an hour. I'm gonna tell you, they're most of their jobs are $9 an hour. Like for $9 an hour, they came back to the culture after that, and they left for a 12 or even $13 an hour job. So
something.
right. So even if I can't provide numbers to you specifically, like there's an effect there. There is something about that, right? Because they care about their team. You talk about my team, our owner Terry. Wow, like she is all about making sure the team that we fit, and everybody's got weaknesses and everybody's got their strengths. So by hiring and recruiting people who believe in your mission and your values, who have the same missions and values, right? Who can get on the same team with your culture and just encompass it, and then be the strength to your weaknesses, right? Their strengths are your weaknesses, and you just build your team in that fashion. The bad seeds are going to show themselves, and you're going to be able to have either they're going to see the writing on the wall, right, themselves, because they no longer align with what your culture is, right? And they no longer believe in it because we want to believe in who we work for and what we do. Or you're going to recognize it and be able to tell them you just don't fit this culture and promote them outside of the company.
If people don't.
Right. And it is okay. It's okay. And it just like from a sales perspective, I think of culture all the time on a sales perspective when I'm talking to employers too. Not just asking them what their culture is, but I explain what our culture is. I want them to know that who they're partnering with, and that it's okay if we're not a fit for each other's culture. And I don't work with every employer, so culture goes a long way outside of just your employees. It's about everything your organization represents.
Awesome. So in closing, and this is a hot question. I saw this debated on LinkedIn and it frustrated me a little bit because I didn't agree with the answers there. So a lot of people in charge, a lot of bosses, right? Which are different from leaders.
Right.
Bosses like to reward results.
Right.
There's also effort. So in closing, go ahead and give some jewels for the folks watching. Should you reward both? Should you what are the thoughts there to keep up that culture and keep up that positive engagement?
Well, I could totally understand how, depending on how that conversation went, people's opinions on this is a wide range, and there's no right or wrong answer to this, honestly, in my opinion. It's really based on what you represent, and what are the expectations of set goal, right? And are the efforts that they put in worth the outcome that they achieved? So in other words, did that person put in 100% effort even if they didn't get their outcome? So an example, salesperson. I put in 100% effort every single day to try and connect with somebody for an appointment. Just because I didn't get that appointment with that person, does that mean I'm not doing my job? So I think it really depends on the situation at hand, honestly, as to whether or not you're going to reward the effort or just the result. It could be somebody who didn't put any effort into it, or put just barely any effort into it, right? They didn't reach their goal at all, but was the effort truly worth the reward? Or is it worth having a conversation and asking them how they feel they could maybe do better next time?
Awesome. Solid advice. Well, this was fantastic. This a lot more than I originally expected. I think this is a wealth of knowledge for small business owners everywhere. So again, Lindsey Hack, everybody, we'll make sure in the pinned comments, Lindsey will get me some stats and some websites and some information that she wants to share, and you guys will find it below. Thank you so much for being on the show. This was absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. I had fun. I appreciate it.
All
Hope
right.
to do it again someday.
I'm just let me know a topic and I'm down, girl.
All right. I got lots of topics.
Hey, I'll see you guys soon.
Bye.